Hey, how are you? It's the Friar podcast, back to our regularly scheduled Thursday afternoon time slot, a day after, yep, the Dodgers have won the World Series. Plenty to discuss on that front. A pros breakdown of just the complete meltdown we saw from the Yankees, and of course, plenty of Padres chatter as we continue to kind of button up the 2024 season and look ahead to 2025. Doing so with one of our favorite guests, Greg Garcia, Valhalla grad, former Padre. Love having him on, and so excited to have his perspective on all that. First things first, though, in important order of business, today we are unfortunately saying farewell to a fixture and an important member of the podcast for the last couple years, Fernando Ramirez. There he is. Man, bummed out. I'm bummed out.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, has it been 2 years since
2
you've
years.
yeah, you've served the
Yeah.
station and the sports department in a couple of different
Yeah.
roles through the years. And I think it was
Yeah.
around the 2022 postseason, which was around the time that we got the YouTube thing going and amped it up. And you were a huge part of that. Like, I don't know if we would have figured out YouTube. I don't know if we would have figured out these live streams without Fernando's help. So anybody who enjoys that, they have you to thank for that. And today is your last day helping us out, which we are bummed about, but super appreciative of the work that you've done for us. And it's been fun seeing you get a chance to not just help us out, but actually cover the Padres for Sporting Tribune throughout the season and during the postseason as well, which has been cool. But just wanted to say thanks, man. You've been a huge part of the team.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, it was awesome. I know I left in June 2020 during COVID, and to be able to come back and I mean, I made a lot of friends here. It's cool to see a lot of people back here, but it's also, I feel like I've learned a lot from you guys, the three of you guys, you, Todd, Derek. I mean, I learned a lot about the Padres. So now when I go and I write about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I know all about that stuff. Like that's exactly what they've been talking about on the pod, and that's stuff that we talk about. So it's honestly been awesome to come back here and a little bittersweet. I mean, obviously it's sad, but definitely appreciative of you thinking of me and saying, hey, we want to bring you back in. So it's been awesome, and I'm glad that you guys have taken this off, and I can't wait to see you guys continue to grow it for years to come. It's honestly a good deal that the three of you guys have here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, none of that's possible without you. And it's a no-brainer to kind of bring you back into the fold. You've got the Compas YouTube empire. Football fans. If you're a fan of the Chargers, if you're a fan of combat sports, wrestling, you guys cover it all. So check out the variety of Compas podcasts, and then your work obviously with Sporting Tribune, covering the NFL and covering the Padres as well. And I'm sure that will continue. And it's been a blast. I mean, you're just you're fun to have around the newsroom as well. So we wouldn't have you around if we didn't like you. It's not.
I'm a little dangerous in the newsroom, but yeah, no, I definitely.
But it has been fun seeing you become like a baseball guy. Like when I started, you were very much like your background, being around the Chargers and covering them, and obviously, important part of what you've done. And you went off, covered Notre Dame, did different things, but then seeing you like kind of tapping the baseball side of things has been cool too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, I mean, I've never said this to you, but I'm so appreciative of you bringing me back, because right around when I came back from Notre Dame was kind of a dark time for me. So it was pretty cool. Not a dark time, but it was just kind of like, I was kind of bummed out, but you kind of came to me with this idea, and then I got started with the Sporting Tribune. So honestly, a lot of really good things happened, and it all started when you asked me to come back. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. And truly appreciate it. But enough of me. I'm tired of myself. So get Greg in here. Let's talk about some baseball. But definitely from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. The Friar family will always be a part of my family. So you guys are awesome. And again, I can't wait to see you guys do a lot more fun stuff. And thank you guys for helping me get into baseball. And now I'm definitely a lot more into it. So yeah, I'm appreciative.
Well, I appreciate you saying all that. And again, can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us and helping us kind of level up, because we were just doing the audio game for a while. We needed to kind of get with the times, and you allowed us to do that. And always interested in helping us kind of scale up and build and expand what we've done. And all that is thanks to you. So you're the man. Appreciate it. And, we'll be getting burritos soon, so we'll
Oh
we'll,
yeah,
we'll be
yeah,
seeing
of
each other,
course.
and at the very least at
Yeah,
Petco Park. So big shout
you
out
guys are
to
awesome. Thank
Fernando,
you.
producer of the On Fire podcast. Appreciate all you've done for us. Thanks to
Thank
OG's, the
you.
sponsor of the On Fire podcast. Appreciate all they do for On Fire and the NBC7 Sports Wrap team. If there's a game you want to watch, don't have any more World Series to watch, but we got NBA, NHL, college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays. OG's is the place to do it. Great locations all around San Diego County. Awesome beer list, constantly updating their menu. And so thanks to OG's for all they do for us. Without further ado, the walk-up music. It is the On Fire podcast brought to you by NBC7. No Derek Togerson today, enjoying a Halloween day off. And instead, we are joined by one of our favorite guests. Very excited that he took me up on this offer to be with us and to take some time out of his Halloween. I'm sure there's going to be some walks around the neighborhood and some candy consumption ahead of you over the coming hours. But
Oh yeah.
thanks again for doing this. Greg Garcia, how are you, man?
Oh man, I'm good. Yeah, I was excited to get your text last night, and always love jumping on this and talking baseball with you and anything else that we're talking about. But yeah, prepping for tonight. Got some good walking shoes because I know my two girls are going to want to stay out till really late in the night, going to door. So I'm excited for it. It should be a fun night for Halloween. Always fun
How,
for the kids.
yeah, how's the neighborhood for it? You guys in a good
It's
spot? Do
good.
you go somewhere else, or you just hunker
No,
down around the house?
perfect spot. Flat streets. Houses are really close together, so
Nice.
a lot of houses you can hit, and it's always a good time. Very safe neighborhood, so I'm excited. I know, and my girls are really excited. They can't wait.
Any full size houses, or are they just like the miniature bite sized families? You know where to go?
Oh yeah, no, I think when we were growing up, we would go to Monarch Ridge was near us, and they had like the king size candies, and that's when you're like, we know our neighborhood is not the king size candy. I will say that we have the variety, but we don't have the king size. Yeah, I have not
Yeah,
found that house yet, but that'll be the goal this year is to find who's doing that.
yeah, you got to find the full size houses.
Yeah,
And the costumes tonight.
yeah, they my youngest daughter decided about a month ago that she wanted to be Taylor Swift and doesn't know one of her songs or anything like that. I think just liked her outfit, saw it on the TV or something, and so they got their whole bedazzled boots and bedazzled shirt. They got diamonds everywhere, so they're
Mhm.
excited. And then I think me and my wife Hannah are going to be like Swifties, I think is what they're called. So we got just Swifty T-shirts and just try to blend in as best we can.
Nice, nice. I mean, you almost have a Travis Kelsey look to you, so you could have
Yeah,
just
could
drawn
have.
an 87 in red marker on a white T-shirt, and there
I
you go.
know. And my wife is actually Hannah's from Kansas City, so we could have played that off. I
Oh,
don't know. Yeah,
there you
we
go.
might have dropped the ball on that one, but it'll
Hannah,
still be a fun night.
Hannah, who we've established based on your Instagram stories, far and away the best athlete in the family. I'm
Oh
playing
my
soccer,
God.
playing basketball, taking people to the hoop. I mean, what can't she
It's
do?
it's true. It is true now. I'm impressed with her every day. And yeah, it was fun. I posted that video of her on the basketball court. I haven't seen her play in forever, and she still got it. She's got the move. She drove to the lane, got a bucket. It was it was a lot of fun. Yeah, she's definitely the best athlete now. There's no question.
All right, so we'll talk Padres, but we're less than 24 hours since the Dodgers won the World Series. I'm curious how it is for you. I mean, San Diego native, played for the franchise. Like, how does it sit with you seeing the Dodgers? I mean, you're such a pro, but
Yeah.
you're in this to like every degree. And so I've been wondering, like, how does Greg feel about the Dodgers winning the World Series?
I think I was kind of indifferent on the World Series. Not it was a big time markets, right? You got LA, New York. I think for me, I just wanted to see the series continue on more than anything, rather than saying, "Oh, I hope the Dodgers don't win," or "I hope the Yankees don't win." I wanted a better series than that.
Hmm.
5 games kind of got over too quickly in my mind. I always loved the game sixes, game seven, and especially with how this could have played out if New York could have won that game. Now you're forcing game six, back in LA, but now the narrative grows of oh, we were up 3-0. No one's ever done this. And then if they were to
Mhm.
win game 6, and that game 7 is crazy, So that I was more hoping for that than anything else.
Yeah, and especially given, the Dodgers' history of kind of tightening up in the postseason, you wonder how
Right.
much that kind of creeps into their back of the mind as the series drags on, and then you're staring directly at the potential of losing a World Series after taking a 3-0 lead.
Yep.
You got the fans like, let's go Padres. In my eyes, Dodgers graduated from Mickey Mouse to a Goofy trophy. All teams let them win easily. So sad. And I think what he's kind of highlighting is, and I tweeted it and then had Dodgers fans just kind of ripping me for a couple of days, saying like it really felt like Padres Dodgers was the World Series.
Yeah.
And it's not taking anything away. Like, obviously, in that case, the Padres still lost the World Series. They lost to the Dodgers.
Right.
But the point being, like, it felt like that was the series. And
Yeah.
whoever wins that one, like, Mets ran out of steam. Yankees weren't their best self. And I think that's where it maybe stings a little bit for Padres fans now. Like, man, if we hadn't gone on a 24 inning scoreless streak and
Yeah.
got one win, like, what could have been?
Well, yeah, and to your point, I think I saw Kike Hernandez had a quote after the game, basically outlining their playoff run, saying, in the divisional series, we beat the best team in baseball, the Padres. Then we beat the hottest team in baseball, the Mets, and then now we just took down, the big bad New York Yankees. So and I don't know if I don't think he was taking a jab at the Padres, like being kind of funny about it. I really think he thought the Padres were at the time the best team in baseball. We were playing the best baseball. We had a solid group. There's no question. And that was tough losing that series.
Not as tough as the nature of the loss for the Yankees last night. I think if there's any solace, if I'm a Yankees fan, I'm probably like, well, we probably weren't winning that series anyways. Like, obviously, you'd
Right.
want to push it to 6 and 7, but just given where they were, you felt like you were playing with house money a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get your perspective on those 3 plays because you have a 5-0 lead. You should be able to cruise away with it, and then just a complete utter meltdown defensively. So I wanted to go kind of blow for blow. I mean, the Judge play in the outfield, I mean, that just seemed like it's just a straight up drop. Like, is it any more complex than that?
No, I think John Smoltz, I was listening to the broadcast when it happened. He said something like, I don't even know. He probably makes that play 999 times out of 1,000. Like it's like
Yeah.
probably more than that, and it's just baseball, and that can happen. And even to the best players in the world. I mean, I know I've made the most routine errors of all time, and that's the beauty of baseball. And where baseball breaks your heart is even at that time when it was still 5-0, and now there's runners on first and second, you just felt like, oh God, they need to get out of this inning because the baseball gods are not kind. And when something like that happens, it just tends to spiral more times than not. Not to say that happens every time, but you just saw that inning just keep progressing, the weirdest little plays. And I think the next one that you were going to touch on would have been the play at short, throwing it to third base. Looks like maybe a good throw. They might have him there. I don't know, but it was a tough play to get to the ball. Kind of a weird play there, anyways. And then the strangest play was the play to at first base. It was like everybody was in slow motion, but Mookie, who was
Hmm.
doing Mookie things, running the hardest 90 on a routine ground ball to first base and beat it out without a play. Like that's credit him for running that hard, And then it was just wow, what just happened? And then Teoscar Hernandez comes up and hits a double, or I don't know what happened after that. Actually, I'm drawing a blank, but
Yeah, Freeman singled and
Freeman
drove in 2
singled,
more, and then Teoscar, yeah.
double. Yeah, it was just, oh my gosh, you just felt for the Yankees. You felt for those players. I've been there. I've made errors to lose a game in the big leagues, and and then you got 40,000 eyes on you, and in this case, the whole world is watching. So tough, real tough.
The play to Volpe, Kike charging hard to third.
Yeah.
And it looked like he didn't have a time to kind of take the normal step, to kind of lead you
Mhm.
into your throw, and he kind of had to throw it off platform a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you see, like, I guess at the end of the day, you've made that play before from that position. Like, you should make that play how many times out of 100. Like, if he makes a good throw, obviously it's right there, but it was Kike forced him to rush it, I think, more than he was obviously comfortable doing.
Yeah, and I think it's not a play he makes a lot. You don't really practice that play all that often. You know, the ball in the hole that you're not going to second to, and you're not throwing to first, and you don't make that throw to third all that often. You know, it's not. I guess it's probably not something that we practice all that often. That I remember practicing runners on a first and second, and ground ball in the 6-hole, throwing the ball to third, especially with the faster runner going to third. But I think that was his only play because that wasn't the broken bat from Tommy Edman, right? Or was that? No, that was the next inning. That was the kind of
no, that was Will Smith.
Will Smith. Okay, yeah. So it was, I can't really. I think maybe this, it sped up on him maybe a little bit, but still not a routine play. And that's why out of the three, I thought that one was probably not the worst out of the three. I think that one was a little bit more challenging, just because of the rarity of the play. The other two were a little bit different. The one that blew my mind was Mookie. I mean, I'm watching the TV. I'm just like, somebody's got to go to first base. Somebody like go. And you're watching this. And you're like, oh my God, this is not good. So yeah, wild ending for sure.
It's one of those situations where I wish I could see the outcome if everybody did the right thing, because I think Rizzo probably has the best chance of getting to the bag.
Yeah.
Less distance to cover. He's looking at Mookie. He knows exactly the situation, whereas Garrett's got Mookie coming behind him. Always kind of an awkward situation for a pitcher.
Yeah.
And I just wish, like, I want to know how close it really was, and how it pans out if both those guys do the right thing, because there's part of me that's like, does Mookie make the play regardless?
Right. The thing that I thought, here's what I'm thinking is, it's a weird angle from a right-handed hitter to hit that ball like that. I don't know if Mookie hit off the end of the bat or something. So it looked like Rizzo really sat back on that ball because it was not hit hard. Like he kind of waited. But I think it's maybe because it had that like cue ball side spin on it, and he didn't want to be overly aggressive and then, miss it somehow because the ball takes a weird spin. Because that ball was not hit hard at all, and he did not really charge it. So he kind of turned it into, and I think in his mind, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get this. I'm flipping it to Garrett. And then Garrett thought probably he's just going to come and charge this. And as he's charging it, it's only going to make sense for him to just kind of veer off and touch first type of thing. And neither of them did what the other thought that was going to happen. And I think when I'm looking on it, I think maybe because the spin from the ball, how it was hit, I don't think Rizzo felt comfortable charging it. And he's a Gold Glove first baseman. He's a good defender. That's what I remember him as, as a good defensive first baseman. So he must have seen something or didn't feel comfortable coming to get that ball. But to your point, how they both played it, it might have still been bang, bang at first, had Cole done the PFP thing and run, and cover first base. So, yeah, we'll just never know on that one, huh?
I kind of think Mookie beats Cole, but I think Rizzo probably beats Mookie. And I mean, the situation ideally is like Cole busts it, right? Rizzo, but like neither one of them rely on each other. And then it's up to Rizzo to determine, am I getting there before Cole or not, right? I mean, is that kind of the mechanics of it from your standpoint?
Yeah, that's how I would see it. Yep, exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Just crazy play though.
It's just, and especially for veterans, I mean, these are like Cole, Rizzo, like they've done it before.
I think, but how that inning went, it can spiral on you, and I can't speak for those guys, and I've never played in the World Series or I can't imagine the amount of pressure that is on you in New York Stadium, and even both of those veteran guys that have been through. I mean, I know they both won World Series, they both been there, but even still, there is just so much that goes into that, and it's just such a big stage, and I don't know. I can't speak to it because I've never done it. I know it's a lot harder than it looks for sure, but just such an insane inning. Just really could not believe it. And for me, I was just mostly disappointed that the series didn't get extended. I just wanted to see it go a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be on everybody's mind the first day of spring training when they're doing those PFPs.
Oh my, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you, and that's the thing about these games. You can be a hero, right, and have these great moments, but you can also it can define your career. I don't think this play is going to define anybody's career or anything like that. But you look at a guy like Bill Buckner, right? The one that went through his legs, and he had a great major league career. But if you think about that name, it unfortunately just goes back to that play for the most part, which is unfair. But that's what it's just so much pressure. It's crazy.
Yeah. To the Padres, how do you evaluate the 2024 season? Because like 2022, obviously like the postseason run, the playoffs, beating the Dodgers, incredible getting to the NLCS, but wasn't like the most impressive, enjoyable regular season. Whereas this year, they
Hang
get
on,
hot.
sorry about that.
No,
Can you
I
hear
noticed
me?
you were. I was just rolling with it. You froze and then disappeared. So I was just like, I'm going to talk for a little while until I see.
All
There
right.
you go. I think you're good now.
Oh,
Whereas this
sorry about that.
season, they start clicking after the All-Star break, go on a run, and they're the best team in baseball last handful of months of the season. They win a series, but then you feel like there's meat left on the bone. After the Dodgers series going up 2-1 and not able to get that series clinching win. From like a player standpoint, how do you think they're kind of processing the season? How do you think they feel about what they did in 2024?
Yeah, it's tough because like you said, they had the season played out basically how Mike Shildt kind of laid it out. Is we're gonna have some bumps early on, but we're gonna be playing our best baseball at the end of the year, and that really did happen. They were, like I said, the best team in baseball basically the second half of the season, getting into the playoffs, winning the first series. That's great. Getting into a position to beat the Dodgers at home, Game 4, and move on to the National League Championship Series, and to not get it done, and to kind of how it kind of happened with maybe the offense stalling. And again, that's baseball. That's not for lack of effort or anything like that. I think it's going to hurt. I think the guys are going to be disappointed because to get to that point, to have that Game 4 in your hands, think of all the things that had to go your way and all the things you had to overcome just to get to that point. And now you got to start from scratch again. And that's the hardest part about baseball. And then as you get further along into your career, whether you're a player or a manager, how many of those opportunities are you going to have? You'd like to say, yes, hopefully the Padres over the next 5 years will be in that same position, 3 out of the next 5 years, 5 out of the next 5 years. But in all reality, it's not that easy. And it's easier to predict it than it is to actually do it. Those guys worked their tails off to get to where they were at. Mike Shildt managed a heck of a season to get them where they're at. So I think there is going to be a sense of disappointment because of that, but they need to turn it into just kind of motivation, knowing that they can do it, and just kind of trusting that they have the right leadership from a management standpoint, ownership standpoint, and then the right core group of players to be able to get back to that position. And then when they're there, to finish the job. That's how I see it, kind of my outlook. And again, I thought overall it was a great season. A lot of players stepped up. And I think the future is still bright for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I think, even if the postseason didn't go exactly how you'd hoped, I think what 2024 did was lend some stability to the franchise,
Yeah.
which it was lacking after 2023 when Soto's gone, when there's friction between Melvin and Preller, you're not sure about manager. Obviously, the passing of Peter Seidler, there was just so much kind of up in the air and hard to know really like the direction that they were going. But it seems a little bit like they're kind of on track again now, even if the result, the way it finished was a bit unsatisfying. Can you make sense of 24 straight scoreless innings with us? Because I feel like we still don't have an adequate answer as to like what on earth happened.
It's the answer that nobody wants to hear, and that's just the game of baseball. It can do that, and I know it's like,
Greg, I don't want that. That's not the answer I want.
I know, and it's like our guys doing something different. No, they're not doing anything different. It's just baseball. It really is. As a fan, and I know this isn't the case as the players, but the game against the Dodgers, Game 5, it felt like they got off to that 2-0 lead on 2 solo home runs or whatever it was. Kike at the home run, and kind of took a little bit of the wind out. But it was like the Padres, if that was September, it's just like, okay, it's 1-0, big deal. We're going to score 3 or 4, and we're going to find a way to win this game. But it felt like we tried to match that blast, tried to just kind of hit a solo. Everybody that was coming up felt like they wanted to hit the solo home run to just make sure, all right, we're back tied. Let's keep
Yeah.
it moving. And that's
We've ended the
playoff
drought.
baseball. And it's probably not the case. They're probably doing the same. But now I'm looking at it through the lens of a fan, like everybody else. And that's how I felt watching the TV. Is there any validity to that? Probably not. None of us are in that locker room. None of us are in the batter's box. Those guys they're not all of a sudden changing their approach, but that's how it felt as a fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're going to get that's baseball type of deal. And it's fresh, and I'm a fan now, and it's frustrating. I mean, I was hoping so badly that this was going to be the year, and I know those players obviously wanted the same thing. So I wish I had a better answer for you, Darnay, but I don't.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is amazing how like a 2-0 deficit felt like it was 8-0.
Right?
And
Didn't it?
especially for a team that during the regular season, a 5-0 deficit felt
Yeah.
like one good
We'll
inning
find
and
a
you're
way.
back in the game.
We're going to find a way to make it close. We'll find a way, and then at the end of it, we'll be where we need to be. Yeah, exactly right.
Do you want to go ahead and take your victory lap on Mike Shildt? Because you could go
No.
back and listen to
Thank
the
you.
podcast that you and I did together
Cue the podcast. Put the
last
link in the
November,
bio.
whenever it was. And
Yeah.
I called you up, and I think you talked about players coach, not afraid to make the hard decision, just workmanlike, get better as the season goes on. Like, I mean, you nailed it. And I was admittedly skeptical the first couple months of the season. I even texted you when he was getting a little bristly with the media, like, what's going on? What is this guy's deal? Like, I don't get it. And he seemed to just kind of shrug off some of the tough losses and that sort of thing. And I'm like, man, if they end up 1 or 2 games out, that's going to look really bad. And then obviously July and into August, at that point, you're like, okay, this is clearly a playoff team, and he's tapped into something. So we salute you, Greg Garcia. You were right on, man.
There you go. Yeah, no, it was I just knew him so well, and you're looking at his track record. I know we always talk about that for players, right? If somebody gets off to a slow start, you're like, well, look at what he's done in his career. If Manny gets off to a slow month of April or whatever, Manny's going to hit 270 with 30 home runs and driving 100. Like that's what he's done. And it's the same thing for me, and my belief with Mike is because everywhere he's been at, he's won, whether it's rookie ball in Johnson City, Tennessee, my first manager, we win, to AA, AAA, to the 3 years he was a manager with the Cardinals, going to the postseason every year, and then loses that job for, I don't know really why. It was easy to back him because the guy is a winner and he knows how to get the most out of his players. And you could see it. You just saw it right before our eyes. So yeah, it made me look really smart, but it was an easy bet for me because I feel like I know the guy really well, and he's just a genuine, really good human being, and he's a baseball junkie. He loves the game, and he loves his players. There's no question about that.
Yeah. You mentioned Manny, just kind of as an example. Last 58 games for Manny, hit 300 with a 917 OPS.
Yeah,
16
exactly.
homers in 50 games. I do want to get back to Shildt because there's more to talk about, but I also feel like we saw Manny return to being Manny, and I think that was another one of those big questions after 2023 is like down season, elbow surgery. Like, is this just who he's going to be? Like through this stage in his career, now 32 and getting a little bit past his prime and that sort of thing. Like, what'd you see from Manny, and how big is it to now be able to go into 2025 feeling like, okay, we could continue to see MVP level Manny? Like, that guy's still there.
Oh, no question. Yeah, the thing about Manny is he puts in the work in the off season, and he does everything he can to get his body ready to go. And he's still young. I mean, I know he's been in the league for, I don't know, whatever, 15 years now, it seems like, but he is still 32, 30. I don't even know. He's still fairly young. He's in the prime of his career, takes really good care of his body.
He turns 33 July 6th.
Okay, so yeah, he's 32 right now, 33 in the middle of the season next year. I mean, he's in great shape, playing shape. Obviously, his mind he knows the game. His baseball IQ's up there. We talked about the play that on the triple play. We talked about that a few months ago. Nobody makes that play but Manny. So, yeah, getting back to your question, yeah, that player is still there. There's no question about it. And I think it was nice for Manny to end the year like that and kind of riding that maybe into next year. And now he's got a fully healthy offseason where he's not having major surgery. There's no, well, do I need to play third? And it's like, no, he's going to go play 150 games at third base next year. I mean, it's just that's what he's going to do. And he's probably going to hit 270 with 30 homers and drive in 100. I mean, we can probably cue this podcast at the end of next year as well, hopefully after a World Series championship. But yeah, he's a great player, great leader. And you saw that I think somebody even talked about that in that same Dodger series when he kind of huddled the group.
Yeah.
You can see his leadership kind of coming out, and he does that, but he usually does that behind closed doors. So players see that, but it was nice for the national media to see it. And it wasn't Manny doing it for that reason. It was just he needed to do it in that moment, where I've seen that behind closed doors with him a ton of times, where there's no cameras and things like that, where he's, rallying us or kind of leading our group. So he's always doing that. This was just something that everybody else got to see. So that was fun.
Using TV-friendly language, what is Manny saying in a closed-door players meeting?
Oh, man, it all depends. I think he would speak up most for us in our hitters meetings. That's what I remember him talking about, because a lot of times he faced most of the pitchers that we were going to see. He has a great approach at the plate, and he has actually a great approach for like other guys, not just himself, so he might be talking about something, but he might go, but Greg, even though he's going to throw, sliders to so-and-so, you're probably going to see fastballs or what he was so knowledgeable. And the other thing that Manny did is he always instilled confidence in us. Like at those hitters meetings, it was always like, hey, we're going to get this guy today. Like he's gettable. It could be prime Garrett Cole or prime Max Scherzer, where like nobody's getting that guy. And Manny's going to go, yeah, we're going to get this guy today. Let's take it at bats and we'll get him. So he was always very positive, and that's when I feel like he spoke up the most, was in those hitters meetings. And it was always wealth of knowledge for guys like me who was just trying to learn from him on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's cool. For Shildt, like one of the big differences of this team is just like how tight they seemed, and guys genuinely seemed to pull for one another, didn't really seem to care who got credit, who stepped up, who had the walk-off, who had the big play, and they just rallied around it. Felt a little bit different from what we saw in 2023. I think there's been a lot of chatter about, like, is it the personalities that are no longer in the clubhouse? Was Bob Melvin just kind of asleep at the wheel and not really directing those guys? You obviously weren't in the clubhouse at that time, but Mike Shildt. Like, what do you think he did? Or I guess, how responsible do you think he is in creating that kind of like a much healthier, more cohesive, and I think for fans, like easier to root for atmosphere and environment for the team, where I think we also saw the best version of Manny Machado as a leader in that as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, what Mike always did well was he always pointed out, and we talked about the yellow pads, and I don't know if they did them this year or not, where he would go over the previous game and talk about the things they did well, the things they didn't do well, and things like that. But he would always point out the little things in the game that happened, whether it would be, Profar hitting the ground ball to second, getting the runner over to third with less than 2 outs, and now we get a sacrifice fly. Like, he's calling that out. And when you do that, your superstars are your superstars. Those guys are going to have great careers. They're going to have great days. But those role players, the player that I was, to get confidence, you needed your manager to call that stuff out, because it's easy to see. It's easy to know, hey, Manny's having a great career. He's having a great season. He just went 3 for 4 with 2 homers yesterday. Those days didn't happen all that often for role players like myself. But it was nice to hear it from your manager saying, Greg didn't get 3 hits, but it was bases loaded with 1 out. He hit a ground ball to short, and he took a hard 90, and they didn't double him off, and we were able to score the run. In the books, that's an 0 for 1. Yeah, it's an RBI, but it's not a great result. But he would call those things out. And I think what that did is, by doing that instills confidence in your role players. And I think you saw that with this Padres team, that confidence grew. And that's why you weren't relying on Manny to carry the team every day, or relying on Tatis. You were getting contributions from everybody in that lineup, whether it was from the catching position with Higgy, or, obviously what Jackson Merrill was able to do, and obviously what Profar was able to do. And when you get that team feel that not one person is going to carry us, then that's the best type of baseball, because on any given night, and it can be anybody. So if Manny's having a tough game, we know somebody else is going to pick them up. So that's kind of what I saw from the team. But you need those successes from those role players in order to have that belief. And the superstars started to be believing in the role players as well, because they were coming through in clutch situations. I mean, Profar his start to the season was unreal. It's the same thing with Jackson Merrill coming through with all these clutch home runs in the 8th inning. They needed to have those moments for Manny to understand, I don't have to do everything. I have a good supporting cast here, and it takes a little bit of the load off Manny, and now he gets to kind of play a little bit more freely. And anybody in that situation is going to play better than feeling like, if I don't hit 2 homers tonight, we're not winning. And now everyone's talking about me, in the media and things like that. So that was a long-winded answer, but I think the contributions they got from everybody, and the confidence that Mike instilled in everybody and able to have these great years was a reason why the team played so well this year.
No, I mean, I think you're spot on, because that's something that was a consistent theme towards the end of the season in the playoffs, in just kind of the guys describing their success. It was, I don't have to get a hit. I can just take a professional at bat here and not force the issue, because I know the guy behind me can pick up my slack if needed.
Well, I think we led the season in sacrifice, or led the league in sacrifice bunting. A bunting, which is a lost art. It doesn't happen anymore. But to your point, this team believed in that person behind them. Okay, and sometimes the person bunting, I know Profar would do it sometimes when he wasn't going so good. And that's a perfect time to do it, because you're like, I'm helping the team. I'm getting somebody into scoring position. And guess what? I believe in Higgy behind me or Jackson Merrill behind me to get that hit, because they are feeling good, but I'm not. But how can I contribute when I'm not going good? And that's what this team did well. They ran the bases well, played good defense, kind of did what was necessary. So, yeah, that's a good point.
You always sell yourself short. Do you know what you did on April 14th, 2018 against the Reds in Cincinnati?
Yeah, two homer day. That was a good day. That was my that was it. I did it one time. I did it a time.
3 for 4. 3 for 4, 2 homers and a double.
Hey.
Scored 3 runs, drove in 3 runs, no strikeouts. You had an 1146 OPS after that game.
That was great. That was great. And that's sad that I can remember that day, because there wasn't that many of those. Yeah, I can tell you what I ate for breakfast that morning. Darn it. No, I'm kidding.
What was it?
Yes,
what was it?
I don't even know. I'm teasing, but that was a fun day. Yeah, those didn't happen all that often. You had to cherish those, so I had to work extremely hard for that.
What was your other than Mike Shildt, other than your favorite, manager, making you look really, really smart and sound really, really smart? What was your favorite thing about the 2024 season? Because I feel like there are a lot of storylines. Jackson Merrill, Jurickson being an all-star, Cease and King. You could probably go down the list. Fernando Tatis Jr., like being an all-star and having flashes of like prime, 2021 Fernando Tatis Jr. Was there one in particular that you especially enjoyed watching play out?
Yeah, I just like the brand of baseball better. It was more my style of baseball. Like I said, it was more, do the little things. Not saying. I mean, we hit a ton of homers too. It's not like we were just small balling everybody to win these games, but we did what was necessary. And I enjoy that type of baseball. I enjoyed watching these guys have career years that I know how hard the game is, and to see Profar with all the work that he's done and being the number 1 prospect in baseball when he was coming up, and I played against him in the minor leagues, and having all that expectation. He's got 10 years in the big leagues now. He's gonna, he had a great season, to a guy like Jackson Merrill, who I don't think anybody expected him to do what he did, to come out and do what he did. It was just, there were so many fun things about the year, and you could see the fan support really get behind it. I mean, I didn't get to go to any playoff games, but watching that on TV, and even watching, and I know I heard Jackson Merrill talk about it a few times in interviews. He's like, it could be a Wednesday day game, and there was going to be 42,000 at Petco, and I can't tell you how much the players appreciate that, and it does give them motivation. So just seeing the city continue to rally around the team, hearing the national media call San Diego a baseball town, I think is fun. I really enjoyed that, because we really are. We are a baseball town now. I mean, it's the Padres, and that's basically it right now. And there's some other really good teams. The Aztecs men's basketball team as another team that I follow really closely, but we're a baseball town. It's great, and I think that's a compliment to the city and how much we've rallied behind the team. So overall, just a fun year, fun brand of baseball. And like I said, I think we're setting ourselves up for a lot of really good baseball in the next 3 to 5 years.
You got to get out and see Magoon Guath, man.
Yeah, man, I can't
wait.
Dude,
he's I caught the
Oh,
exhibition last night.
yeah, they won by what,
Real
30 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, they beat San Marcos like 80-39.
Yeah,
But he's gonna be like he's
a
something.
problem. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
I
I'm
know.
excited to see him.
You always that's a great organization. They always do things the right way. They got great coaching and they have a great just a product of what they always put out on the court. So it's fun.
How do we process Jurickson Profar season at this stage in his career? Because now, he's a free agent. So I think that's one of the
Yeah.
big questions is like, what do you do with that? Like, do you pay him like you'd pay anybody that had that season? You played with him 2020, had a nice stretch here. After 2022, he goes, looks for a little bit of money, doesn't necessarily get it, then ends up back here. I think that's it's kind of like a tenuous question now because he obviously means so much to this team. And for whatever reason, they function better when Jurickson Profar is around and brings out the best version of him. But it's hard to know how much you can, pay a guy at this stage in his career and how much stock to put in this season when it was kind of dramatically like the results better than what we've seen from him just in terms of his track record.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as a former teammate and just how much I respect the guy, I want him to get paid. I think he deserves to get paid what he's worth. That's what it doesn't. I always hate that narrative where it's like, if anybody else did what he did, they're getting this. But because it's Profar and then you'll get that, it's just like, I think about let's say he was a rookie or even early in his career. How many times do we see a lot of these big contracts? Somebody comes up in the big leagues, has a good year and a half, and then they sign a 10-year deal for $100 million, and then it just kind of it's not always the greatest contract either. I think
Hmm.
the versatility he brings, the clubhouse guy he is, the winner that he is. I think he's deserving of whatever the market will bear, and I hope it's a good payday for him. He's earned it. To do what he did is, I mean, I can't. It's hard. It's
Hmm.
very hard, and so I hope we re-sign him. I think he's a key part of this team. He's a key part of this core. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into that I don't have anything to do with, but he's a winning player, and Mike Shildt talks about that, right? That's a big thing for him. Winning players. He's a winning player. He'll be a winning player. And I wouldn't bet against him to go do what he did again this year. I think confidence is on the rise. Like I said, he's in his 30s as well now. Is he even 30 yet? He might be like
Yeah,
29.
no, I think he's around the same age as Manny. He might be 31.
31.
Yeah,
So still
31.
still young, and now he's coming off a career year playing in the city that he likes. He's comfortable. So I hope he gets what he deserves, and I hope we can sign him back here.
And whatever he does, I mean, the effort's going to be there. So,
Totally.
if his numbers kind of come back down to earth, it won't be due to lack of effort. What are reasonable expectations for Jackson Merrill? Because like baseball is such that a really good player can have a down season and you're going into your second year. I think what we saw from him is real. But like progression for a young baseball player isn't necessarily just like this, right? Like there's going to
Yeah.
be some peaks and valleys
Yeah.
along the way. And so like what's a healthy outlook from like a fans and followers perspective of fans and followers of the team on Jackson going into you where like again, he's going to grind, he's going to do everything that he
Yeah.
possibly can, but baseball's a really hard sport and he's still a
Yeah.
young player. So like what kind of outlook should we have on year 2 for him?
Yeah, it's hard to say. And also, Darnay, I want to say my phone is at like, if it dies, then my phone it's low battery. I just want to put it out there now, just in case it just goes away. That's why I was
All
just
right,
checking there a second ago, and I
we'll
can't
wrap
find the
up. We'll
cord.
wrap up if that happens.
No,
That's all right.
no, yeah, so yeah, exactly. But for Jackson, the thing that impressed me most was it's not like he had a great first half, hit 400, and then hit 150 the second half. His splits month after month was right around that 290, 300, 280, 310. He was so consistent, and I think that's kind of unmatched. I think even the best players in the world don't have that type of consistency. So it might be the swing he has, the approach he has. Are there going to be hard times coming up? I don't know. I mean, I get there should be, but maybe not. Maybe he defies the odds because he already did it. I mean, to have the rookie season that he did, to play center field after never playing center field in the major leagues and doing it well, he's already defied so many odds. So I would not bet against that kid. And I don't know him personally, but just listening to his interviews and things like that, it's like how do you not root for that guy? How is that? I mean, how do you not believe in that kid? You know, everything he says is spot on. It's not a facade. It's not fake. It's who he is. He's a baseball player. He loves the game. He loves his teammates. He loves winning. I mean, how many times did he get asked about the rookie of the year? And he's just like really quick. I don't care. He's like, I care about wins. He's just that. And I don't think that's fake. That's real. So I think expectations for him is the sky's the limit. You know, another year in the big leagues. I don't see it going backwards, you know. So I'm excited as heck for him and what he's able to bring to the Padres next year for sure.
All right, running the risk here. We'll let you go.
Yeah.
But there are a couple questions. This not necessarily Padres related, but I wanted to get to this quickly. Does Greg have any lessons for youngsters in the San Diego area? We'll let you go on that, Greg. Anything you would want to impart on young aspiring baseball players in San Diego?
Oh, this is one of my favorite questions. What I like to say to the youngsters is, and I talk to a lot of little league, high school kids sometimes, and what I say is enjoy the game of baseball. If this is something that you want to do in your life, if you want to be a major league baseball player, keep going at it. You never know when you will peak. When is the best version of your baseball self going to come out? Sometimes it's 12 years old for a kid. I mean, when I remember playing in Little League, there's these 12-year-olds that hit 3 home runs a game. And if you were to ask anybody who's going to be a major leaguer, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, it's that kid because he hits 4 home runs a game and he throws 100 miles an hour, you know? Whereas me, I was never that player. I never in my career was I that player. But what I did do was
Oh, no. Are we losing him? I think we might be losing him. I knew, you know what? I knew it was risky to ask that last question, but I wanted to get to it. And I think, you know, we got some of his advice in there. Darn it. Well, we're just going to have to have Greg back on again, which certainly isn't twisting our arm because one of our favorite guests at some point again this all season. And maybe we'll start with that. We'll start with your career advice for young baseball players. But I think he was off to he got some of his answer in there. You know, don't get discouraged. Keep working. Have fun. But I'm guessing this means Greg's phone died on us. He at least gave us the heads up. Had a few other topics I wanted to throw at him, but we got to a lot of the good stuff and teased some of his advice for baseball players. So we'll finish that conversation another day. But loved having Greg on and getting his perspective on, as Petey calls us, the Gentleman's Padres podcast. Excited to see what happens with the Padres in the weeks to come. We got the GM meetings here coming up, so another chance to hear from AJ Preller if there's any firmer answers on all the questions about this team, and we will certainly discuss that once that time comes around. Appreciate Greg Garcia. Huge shout out Fernando Ramirez, all you've done for the pod, and we will see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next time.